Well, welcome to this meeting of the Cemetery Board. I can see that the afternoon venue is probably not the best for folks getting here, so we'll try not to do that again, because I like company. But in any event, I'm Dan Shapiro, I'm Secretary of State, Cesar Paralysis, Deputy Chair.
I'm Paul Ambrose from the Department of Health, representing Commissioner Howard Zucker.
And I'm Chris Wiles, representing the Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman.
Louis Polishuk, Director, Division of Cemeteries.
Chet Buckowitz, Assistant Director of the Cemeteries.
Mike Sealand, Senior Investigator, Division of Cemeteries.
Glenn Breen, Investigator, Division of Cemeteries.
Joe Ambrose, Associate Accountant, Division of Cemeteries.
Tony Melillo, Counsel to the Cemetery Board.
Welcome, everybody. All right, have folks had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Any suggestions, changes, amendments, comments?
Yes.
Cool. You do read well, I like that. You're a close reader, I mean, that's great.
Under rules and regulations, it's the board's financial reporting regulation under review. Is it a rule or is it a regulation under review, or does it matter in this context?
Rules and regulations are really redundant terms, you know, they're often used together, but it's the same thing.
Well, if we're gonna keep it singular regulation, it should say is under review. If we're gonna make it plural, then we say are. Which do you prefer? Or board?
I don't see the same.
Mr.
Number two.
Mr.
Rules and
Lamar reported
The proposed use of the board.
No, you're correct, revisions. R goes with revisions.
Yeah.
Withdrawn.
Okay,
Referred to as a rule.
right, yeah, same.
And then under Rockwell, on the next page, Division of Corporations, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, Tony, that is right, isn't it? That's you.
And under public comment, do you want to include any of the board's responses or the division's responses to the fact that these issues were brought up by the commission?
Yeah, I was thinking along similar lines, except I don't remember what they were.
Well,
They're on the tape, they're on the.
yeah, I think I can tell you what they are, but I can't give you, I guess I have to give you exact phrasing so you can adopt the minutes. For knocked over headstones, I don't know that we had a specific response to that one. On the quality of the missing minutes and the quality of the recordings.
I was always look into it, yes.
Chet, could you please pass the,
That's as far as it'll go.
that's as far as it'll go?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
This.
No, that.
That's.
I'm not sure how hard.
How about
We said we would try to do
the
that.
chair indicated he
It's
would
actually
see
plugged
what
in
he
there.
could do to improve the quality.
So it's, you're
How
pulling
about
the plug.
attempts to improve quality?
Attempt to improve quality.
I guess if you had the plug going through that hole down there, it would work.
Yeah.
There's probably not.
And
there's
and
not a
if we're having
photo.
bad oral stuff in this session, I really will, I need a longer phone cord.
That's right. Just sit in the middle.
Yeah. you can
Exactly,
do
or
it.
sit in the middle, yeah.
There's
Okay, so let's add that,
there's a
okay.
Clarification on the use of vandalism funds for dangerous monuments. We need to clarify that for the requesters.
Yeah.
And also the issue of no insured interest, who does the cemetery have liability?
Right, I don't think we really gave much of a response to that. I think either Tony or I called his attention to the statute, which he knew about, but I don't know that. Honestly, I didn't think, other than saying we were trying to do better on this,
Yeah, I don't
our
think we-
response was essentially thank you for sharing.
Raise issue potential liability, we had a response to potential liability, I really
Yeah,
don't recall.
one of us mentioned the statute. I mean, Rich knew the answer to that, and then somebody else said you're going to get sued even if you don't have an interest. Which
Oh, right.
none of this is really
It was a discussion. It was
Discussion ensued.
it was really a discussion, I mean, there wasn't any.
discussion
Yeah.
ensued.
I'm all right with that.
There's also a question raised about the cemetery board adopting the Improvement Investment Funds Act. And that was, I think you clarified, both of you clarified that that was not applicable to our work.
Well, it's not exactly true. It wasn't applicable to whatever he was asking about.
Yeah.
The Prudent Investor Act does apply. And I think that was what the question was about, not the prudent management of institutional funds. Institutional funds?
If you go back and look at the video, clarification.
Why don't we do that?
So that we can't adopt the
No,
minutes.
we'll just table it. There's no overwhelming need to adopt them. Let's go back and just take a look. And again, we don't do hugely detailed minutes, you know, we want to keep the flavor. So we have something to report, so let's do it. And then we'll find firsthand whether the audio is sufficient.
Can we work
Hi,
Warner
Renee.
Wolf into this?
What's that?
Can we work Warner Wolf into this? Let's go to the videotape.
So that's fine. Wow, that goes back to page.
That does go back. Okay.
See, he
So we'll just
remembers.
wait in that, and we'll have a revised minutes for the next meeting.
Is there any value also in the vandalism report section of including what was said, as opposed to just saying that the vandalism report was given?
I don't think there's much of value there, you know, if we have something that is of significance, I think it's worth reporting, but frankly, the vandalism report really does speak for itself, you know, it's all there. I've actually toyed with the idea of just making it available and not presenting it, because it's just a factual recitation of where we are in the vandalism fund, you know, at that moment, and what the pendings are. I just don't think there'd be anything to add, unless something came up of significance where we had to determine something. Okay, all right, let's move on then. Legislation and regulations, Mr. Manillo.
Okay, I'll start
Rules
with,
and regulations.
yes. I'll start with our draft regulations. They've been submitted to the RRU for review before being submitted for publication. Don't know how long that review will take. They're awfully busy right now with national regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Manillo.
So, we'll see.
Okay.
Regarding the legislation report, there has been quite a bit of activity in the Senate. I didn't get to send this to you. Chad, I think you printed some.
Yes, I think Monet has some copies for us to share.
Yep. Who needs one?
For,
Just write down at least four.
Is a few copies.
Oh, here we go.
So the first bill that showed action is number 8, which starts on the bottom of second page, and to the top of the third. This passed the Senate. This is Assembly 3095, Senate 3300, to eliminate Supreme Court approval for the purchase and sale of land. It would limit it to cemetery board approval. Also relates to the designation of a fiduciary for trust funds, etc. So it has passed the Senate. It's been reported to codes of the Assembly. And the next item is number 15. This is relates to unclaimed cremated remains of a veteran. This passed the Senate and has also been referred to the Assembly. And that's it.
very good. Thank you, sir. Anything else for you? Nothing? Nothing. Well, you know what, maybe we should, we are working, right, on the implementation of policy. I might as well bring it up.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Why don't I make that the division report?
That, you already planned to do
Since I
that.
actually have nothing else to report.
Well, that's good. Go ahead, Louis. Division
the-
report.
You're referring, of course, to chapter 509 of the laws of 2014.
Glad you remembered that site.
There we go. So, as I think we're all well aware from previous episodes of this, Senate, the Senate passed the legislature passed, and the governor signed a bill that allows cemeteries to use the quote-unquote net appreciation of both permanent maintenance and perpetual care funds for the purposes for which income, meaning interest and dividends on those funds, could be used. We proposed a guidance safe harbor for applications that we would approve. I believe that was, we proposed it was either at the March or the February meeting. The folks we regulate didn't seem to like it very much, and we are setting up a meeting for the first week of June to discuss possible alternative approaches to implementing this in such a way as to make it workable for cemeteries, workable for the board, and serve the purpose for which the legislation was passed, which is to strengthen the hands of cemeteries and give them better ability to manage and operate their affairs.
So, I think we're all very hopeful that post that meeting, we'll have a unified approach to the issue and be able to present that to the board. Right, that's the goal.
That is correct. The other piece of the division report is that we have one person here from the division who did not identify himself, probably because it is his first day. Brandon Stanton is with us today. It is his first day, as I said.
Welcome.
He is the
Nice to meet
second.
everybody.
Brandon's the second half of our Binghamton office.
Wow.
We now have, Andrew Hickey, last month we introduced Andrew Hickey, our accountant based in Binghamton, and this month we're introducing Brendan, who's our investigator based in Binghamton. And we will now have a Binghamton presence, which will, I think, dramatically improve division efficiency, because parts of the southern tier seem to be very inaccessible from the offices from which they are now covered, and we won't have that problem anymore. We can spend less of our time in cars and more of our time in cemeteries.
It's great then, it was good work, Louis, to get
And
that done.
one more personnel matter, which is not good news, but
Well, not for us.
not for us at least. What can we do? Rosemary Valero, who is one of our two accountants in our Buffalo office, is retiring. Her last day with the agency will, I believe, be September 17th. The chair owes her a golden shovel, and that we will all need to sign. I've delegated. Usually the board's supposed to delegate powers to us, but I delegated this one the other way. We have already submitted an intent to fill to go through the various and sundry procedures that have to be gone through to be able to fill the position. Our current thinking, which we don't expect will change, is to keep this second accounting line in Buffalo. We have two very senior people in Western New York, and it would be who themselves could retire in the foreseeable future. And we believe it would be good to have someone who can learn from their experience before they retire, and hopefully this won't happen for a while, but when either one of them decides to go, we can assess where our needs lie. For now, we'd also be defeating the purpose a bit of this whole restructuring we did to keep people from driving, because there are certain parts of the state that are really only accessible from Buffalo.
Sure.
Unless we put someone in Jamestown, we're not doing that.
Okay. Very good. Rosemary, a shout out to you. Hope you can hear us. And we'll be seeing Rosemary before she goes. If nothing else, there will be a presentation of the shuttle.
Right, we'll have to figure out the logistics of that. We don't have much time.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Louis. Anything else?
What
I'm not
about-
encouraging you.
Do you want to discuss, do you think there's anything for us to report on the issue of standalones? I guess I could report it in 2 sentences.
2 sentences.
We've been approached by at least one standalone crematory about the issue of selling, transferring, succession to standalone crematories. We made clear at that meeting that the board has previously and consistently taken the position that if a standalone crematory, the anti-combination statute contained a grandfathering provision only for the funeral director who was operating it at the time of the grandfathering, and at the very least you could not bring in another funeral director to come and operate a standalone if that person were to sell the business or retire. And this is not news to anyone, and we have in fact reiterated that position to the division has reiterated its belief that that is and has been and will be the board's position, and told them that.
Okay, the floor in 2 sentences.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Governor, I think in addition to the Okay, you've got, I think you wanted to tell us about.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I skipped right by the, there's only one, and it was non-controversial. Anybody have any comments on the dangerous monument application for Elbridge? Okay. Motion?
So moved.
Approved, second, say aye. 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 Now, thank you for reminding me, Governor.
Oh, okay, Governor's Cemetery, Mike, do you wanna do this, or you want me to do it?
I can talk about the physical, but you have more contact.
Alright, so the DOT is in the,
Well, this is coming back to us, so this was tabled.
no,
This is new?
no, this is new,
Oh, really?
but it's,
We just been talking about it for a long time.
yes.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, there are two tabled applications that I probably should just note
Yeah.
for the record. The application, for three things, sorry. Number one, there was vandalism order last month. We didn't actually have the order physically available, so we were going to want you fine gentlemen to sign it.
Sure.
Second, both Graceland Cemetery and Oakwood Cemetery for Niagara Oakwood came in for PM loan / PM forgiveness, respectively. The board tabled those at the previous meeting. The division, in the case of Graceland, has not completed its review and recommendations of their finances. We're close to doing that, but should be before you next month. We've also looped in the Attorney General's office since they've already filed the petition in court. The Attorney General, I believe, is working with them on the adjourned schedule that works for everyone. On Oakwood, the board directed that the thing be tabled so that they could get some hard quotes for the work they wanted to do on their roads and present a proper application for the major improvement and part of that, how they're financing it, be it a PM loan, PM forgiveness, whatever their structure of financing. They have not yet gotten us those quotes. Again, I strongly suspect we will have that ready for June. Governor, this is a cemetery in the town of Oswegatchie, which is in the North Country. No?
No,
It's not?
no, Oswegatchie is a different cemetery.
Is it in the
That's
town?
not so it's
It's not-
Governor.
Is town of Governor? Oh, yeah, it's near Lake Ontario and far north.
Okay.
They are, the reason I said that is DOT is working on a project to rebuild a bridge over the Oswegatchie River, which is by the cemetery.
Very.
And
Oh,
as
okay.
part of that, they want to move the road slightly and straighten the entrance to the cemetery and install some new drainage stuff. They are proposing, pursuant to a statute that I'm not gonna pretend to understand, to acquire 721 square feet of land from the cemetery. We've written, Mike wrote up a detailed thing on this, but the change is moving the intersection from a Y shape, as it is now, to more of a T shape, which is safer for ingress and egress. This is only one of 3 entrances to the cemetery, so the closures in connection with the road work of this entrance won't affect visitation. There are no interments in the area where they're planning on doing the work. The DOT also is proposing to pay a very small sum, the princely sum of $1,100 to the cemetery. I say that with a lot of caveats because the DOT takes the position that there are also, they can't really publicize this and this, that, and the other thing.
But they've represented to you that that is what the appraised value came in at.
Yes, that is correct. And the transaction seems to us, we're recommending, there's a separate statutory provision, which I don't remember, but there is a separate statutory provision for acquisition of land by DOT, separate from the land sale provisions of law. And we're recommending approval of the transaction. The cemetery is only getting a small amount of money, but they're getting a much safer entrance to it. And I suspect everyone who wants to visit that cemetery will benefit from having a updated bridge next to the cemetery over the Oswegatchie River.
Now, the 700 feet that's being taken, that's not the burial.
No,
Property.
it's very far away. It's an 8-foot strip along the entrance, and I think it's 90 feet to the nearest grave, and that's from the early 1900s. And they actually have 2 locations at this cemetery. There's a couple acres left here, and they have an annex that's a mile down the road where 90% of their burials take place.
And they're going to reconfigure the gate, the entranceway?
There's no gate.
There isn't a gate there, but if, as Louis explained, you've got the Oswegatchie River,
Right.
like so, and then you've got a railroad bridge, like so. And then you have Route 58, like so. So there's an awful lot of infrastructure in this
Right.
little area right at the entrance. And when you're coming out of the village, or I think the village of Governor, you're crossing this straight shot across the river, and you're looking at the abutment for the railroad bridge. And if somebody's pulling out of the cemetery behind it, you wouldn't see that. So when they straighten the road out, it's gonna correct that. So it's gonna correct the hazard distribution. This is a diagram, and there's photos in there.
Yeah, I think it's in the board package, take a look, it's.
Is this a petition from the DOT or from the cemetery?
This is from the DOT.
So we're supposed to negotiate the price?
Well-
we've gotten a price, right?
They've given us the price, they
I
say
understand
that's
that,
what they're
they
paying.
always are.
All I can, I
This-
mean,
I actually want to clarify that. There's two different provisions in section 1506 that could apply to this. 1506I is the provision we're used to where a cemetery signs its land. 1506K is an eminent domain provision where an agency decides to lay a street or highway through a cemetery. Because both provisions apply, I think the board should conduct its motion, assuming that both provisions apply, so it should, if it's going to recommend Supreme Court approval, and under K, actually approve it. Because under the eminent domain provision, the board's approval is needed.
the only wrinkle to that is for acquisitions, are they done in Supreme Court or in the Court of Claims?
Supreme Court,
Okay.
the statute doesn't change, just because it's.
No, but the acquisition, the DOT acquisition process itself, they have the Attorney General involved.
Well, whatever they do is this has to go, the cemetery has to have an application
Wait,
that goes,
They're not going to court unless they're challenged. DOT.
I understand, but so what you're saying is that we treated this solely, we recommended approval of this solely, just to clarify, we recommended approval of this solely relying on section
I
1506K.
understand.
The process of acquisition, if they had used eminent domain as opposed to acquisition, I don't think there'd be any question that 1506I would apply. Correct me if I'm wrong, but acquisition comes in because we're looking at, 1506I comes in because we're looking at acquisition as well. I don't,
Well, Tony, help us out here. What really are we, what is the application supposed to be for? What proceeding are we dealing with?
well, I don't know that,
by the way, the DOT representative is available by phone, and she wanted to be looped in.
We need
well, I need to know what they believe they're acting on.
Okay, can we,
If they believe this is an eminent domain, I think that needs to be made
all
clear.
right, can we call, Chet, can you pass me the packet?
If you look at the resolution that the cemetery passed, did you see that? They referenced 1506K.
Right.
They don't say anything about it.
For us, the functional difference is really a recommendation as opposed to an approval.
Well, and whether they have, whether we are going to impose a requirement on them going to court that DOT doesn't believe they have.
Good afternoon, Officer Brightway, this is Dee.
Hi, Ms. Donlin, you've got the entire cemetery board and Louis Polishuk, and you are live on YouTube.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you will be.
We're
Recorded
not
for
live, you're
posterity.
being recorded for posterity.
Right. So we
You
had
can record my voice, long as you can't see me, that's okay.
That works.
So we had a question of just what statutory scheme this is progressing under. Tony, you want to lay it out for?
Yeah, there are two provisions in the cemetery law, section 1506 of the not-for-profit corporation law.
Mm-hmm.
Paragraph I deals with the sale of cemetery lands. Paragraph K, although it doesn't use the words eminent domain, deals with streets or highways being laid out through cemetery lands.
Exactly, that is the section of law that applies.
Okay, so the DOT is acting under eminent domain powers here in this transaction.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the eminent domain procedure that the DOT has to follow?
Okay, that is a very good question. There are two ways that the power of eminent domain can be exercised. One is by condemnation, and the other is by appropriation. Here in the state of New York, we use appropriation. There are a few other states in the country that use appropriation. Most do it by condemnation. We are one of the few that uses appropriation, and the difference is in the procedure, I guess. I have a limited understanding of condemnation because we don't use it, but it's my understanding that with condemnation, what they do is they make an offer to the property owner, and if the property owner is not happy with the offer, then they have to negotiate until the property owner is happy before they can acquire the property, or they end up going to court and they get a court order, and that's how they do it. With appropriation, we don't have to do that. Our procedure is different. What we have to do is we have to make an offer to the property owner. We have to then give them about 10 days to look over that offer. We have to then make a second contact with them, make sure that they receive the offer and understand it, answer any questions that they have about it, and that's it. And then we file the map. So in the process of appropriation, we actually have never actually paid for the property before we've acquired it. We acquire it first, and then we pay for it. And the question of whether or not the property owner is happy with the offer doesn't matter. We're required to make the offer, make sure they got it, answer their questions, and then we take possession of the property. But the process of negotiation doesn't end there. All that does is it gives us the ability to move on with our project. But there's still, the window for negotiations is still open. So just the process of the way all the paperwork is signed and everything it would be just about impossible for us to pay somebody for their property before we filed the map.
So this is Dan, so do I understand then that what is not negotiable is the acquisition of the property by the state?
Exactly. That is not negotiable. The acquisition is going to take place. It's going to take place within the time frame that it needs to.
Right.
And then the negotiation over the price can still be handled after that.
And the corollary to that is that if the property owner or the former property owner and the state don't agree on the price, that there is recourse in the courts to deal with that issue.
Oh yes, there absolutely is. What happens is we file the map with the county clerk, and that is the instrument by which we take ownership of the property. So on the day we file that map, we become the owners of the property depicted on that map. At the same time, we file what's called a notice of appropriation, and then subsequent to that, we try to do within, say, 30 to 45 days after that, we try to get what we call personal services done. And what personal service is sending a copy of that notice of appropriation to the property owner. And in fact, everybody who the Attorney General's office has certified as having an interest in that property, but obviously the most important person to serve is the fee owner. Once that personal service is done, that starts a statute of limitations on the length of time that they would have to file a claim in the Court of Claims for more money if they were not happy. And that length of time is 3 years.
Okay.
So they have 3 years from the date of personal service to file a claim. And the personal service doesn't even take place until generally, maybe a month after we filed the map. Of course, there are times when we drop the ball on the personal service and it doesn't get done, and then that statute of limitations just goes forever. There is no statute of limitations. If you don't do the personal service, then that window stays open forever.
Okay.
And what about the title to the land? Does it stay with the cemetery, or?
Oh, absolutely. All except for that little piece.
Okay, yeah, so that, the title to that piece will change.
Yes, but it doesn't affect the deed. What it is there's a map, and it's filed, and the county clerk's office is going to link it to that deed in their records. So, but there doesn't need to be a new deed. We don't do anything with deeds.
Right, but that map shows the Department of Transportation as the owner of that strip of land?
Right, and it's actually, it's that actual map that you have in the package.
Right.
That's what we file.
Okay.
So it actually shows a picture of exactly, what little piece of their land has been carved out and now belongs to the DOT.
Okay. So Tony, what's our role?
Just to clarify, there are cases in that said eminent domain apply to a cemetery, once it's already used for a public purpose.
Yep.
And eminent domain has to be private land for a public purpose. This paragraph K addresses that by permitting eminent domain where the cemetery and this board permits it. So the cemetery could actually refuse it if it's board, is that right?
Oh, the cemetery. Well, you're right, because we did have to get a resolution from the board at the cemetery.
Which is in your package.
Right.
Yes.
No, we needed clarification as to what the heck we were supposed to do, but I think we're getting it right now, and I think it's understood that
Paragraph
this.
clearly
Go ahead.
applies.
Yeah.
Whether paragraph I also applies because there's a conveyance, they're being paid for the land and there's a change of title, that's a little more.
And that's not relevant to me.
Right.
No,
right.
that would be up to the cemetery to go to Supreme Court and go through that.
Right, that's between you and them. If like, say they don't want to, if they didn't want to disclose to you how much they got, or they didn't want to do whatever it is that you think they should do with it, because I know they're somewhat answerable to you about how they handle their money. And that's what that paragraph, I think, is talking about.
Paragraph K, the language is very specific. It says no streets or highways to be laid out through cemetery lands.
Right.
And then it says so long as lands of a rural cemetery, it actually has an impact because it's historic rural cemeteries organized under this provision. Let's see. So as the lands of a rural cemetery shall be dedicated to the purpose of a cemetery, no street, road, avenue, or thoroughfare shall be laid out through such cemetery.
Right.
Or any part of the lands of the cemetery without the consent of the trustees and the cemetery board.
Right.
So that's more of a taking than this transaction.
So what is the paragraph that requires
No, I
Supreme
think
Court?
that is exactly what they're doing. They're laying out a road through a cemetery whose lands are still being used for cemetery uses. It's not going very far into the cemetery. It's a teeny piece of property.
I just want to get the Supreme Court, so we've got the DOT process, we're clear on that. The cemetery is in accord with that, the division says this is a good thing for the cemetery, they're being paid.
Pittance that they're being paid.
Well,
But
that's
we're
what
not
the value
approving
is.
the drugs.
We're
Well,
not,
that's the other thing that the eminent domain procedure law requires, is that, first of all, in order to exercise your power of eminent domain, you have two requirements. One is that the land, the acquisition has to be for public use, and the other is that the property owners have to be compensated fairly for what you take. You have to pay for what you take. You can't just take it and not pay for it. You can't take it and not pay a fair price for it. So the law requires that we literally make sure that we give our claimants every single penny to which they're entitled. It also requires that we don't give them a penny to which they're not entitled, because we can't be playing fast and loose with taxpayers' money. So, you know, the idea is to get it exactly right.
Just for,
We don't want to underpay them, we don't want to overpay them.
just from my knowledge, I know we've encountered this before, and I know it's always the position of DOT that their appraisals are confidential.
Yes.
Do they cease to be confidential after the transaction is done?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know, but I can tell you, because I have it right in front of me. I can give you the breakdown. I mean, I know I said that the compensation was $1,100, and it was for land, lawn, asphalt, and curbing. So that's the other thing that we do. We don't just pay for the land, we pay for anything that is on the land, anything at all, that wasn't put there by nature. So seeded lawn does not grow there naturally. Men have to plant it, and therefore it has value. Sometimes that value is considerably more than the underlying value of the land, but in this case it's actually not. In this case it's worth a little bit less than the land. For the seeded lawn, and I don't seem to have the figures, wait a minute.
I don't think we need that kind of detail, so you don't have to worry about that. We're more of a
Well,
close.
this is what you would see if you were looking at
Right.
the appraisal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that DOT has done the appraisal, and so we've got a number. The cemetery is satisfied, as far as we know, without waiving the rights of the cemetery on their behalf. The cemetery, to our knowledge, is satisfied with the number.
Well, yeah, nobody.
Well, they may not know what the number is. Maybe they don't know what the number is, but they're satisfied with the transaction. They do now.
No,
They probably have a pretty good ballpark idea.
Yeah, I mean, but the issue that I just want to understand, Tony, is that we have our proceeding for approval under what is the eminent domain portion of this. You mentioned that the potential of another piece of the statute applied, which requires application to the Supreme Court for a land transfer.
Right.
that is a different thing.
No, I know, it's not for you, but that's for this board
Right.
to consider.
That would be if the cemetery were trying to sell some of their land to a regular person because they wanted to sell it.
Well,
They would have to get permission from the Supreme Court
that's
to
an
do that.
interpretation, but I have my cemetery counsel here and I want to hear from him. My take actually is consistent with yours, is that the land is being appropriated, probably that paragraph doesn't apply. I don't see that the cemetery is going to go to the Supreme Court in any respect to argue that they can't do it, because guess what? The state can do it. There is no recourse to the Supreme Court to block the transaction.
And they have an alternative remedy if they don't like the price.
So I sort of think,
That's a good point, is that 1506K does not provide for Supreme Court review. It provides for the cemetery's own board and this board to review.
yeah.
And
Right.
approve.
Right, the court doesn't get involved there, but,
And what would happen if they both approved and the Supreme Court did? That would be.
Yeah, so I think this is an exclusive provision, if you will, and it's, right? Okay,
Okay.
all right, so
So-
we're taking action to, if the board agrees, if this is a salutary transaction. Do we have any?
Just to,
Yeah.
you asked, what are the standards? There is nothing, no standards in what 1506K. It just says it requires cemetery's trustees and this board to approve.
Well, in this case, they wouldn't, if it's $1,100, it's not worth getting another appraisal. You have to pay for it.
Exactly, that's,
That's part of
that was the discussion that we had.
That was my point from yesterday.
$1,100.
Yeah.
That was my point from
Yeah,
yesterday.
it doesn't seem.
But what they can do.
Hold on, I think
Yeah, you might
Put
want
while
to
you're ahead.
That's right. Do we have-
Wait.
No, you wait. Let them
hold on.
approve this thing.
Yeah, let's, do we have any other questions or discussions from the board? No. Can I have a motion
So moved.
to approve? Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Good.
You're done.
Now you can-
And you've given us an
It's
education,
approved.
thank
Do
you
need
so
something?
much.
And the only question I have is, do you need something in writing from us confirming our approval?
Probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll draft, so the division will draft something and I'll email it to you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, take care.
Yeah, you
Okay.
too. Bye-bye.
I had a supervisor tell me exactly that once. I won an argument.
Oh,
And then I kept arguing. Better not learn when to put one in your head.
Well, this
That's
is-
not to reverse what I
Well,
just
this is
said.
interesting.
Yeah, that was a bit of an education. It was great.
She's in Bahos.
Yeah, super, very
She's
knowledgeable.
right here.
Very nice.
But she didn't want to come downtown, so I told her she could come
Okay.
participate.
It was good to have her. All right, Parkview Cemetery, major renovation.
Okay, Parkview over in Schenectady.
Did you have the plans in case they want them?
Yeah, we have plans right here, I'll pass them down.
This is a columbarium, right?
No, this is the
Oh, the
crematory
retort, that's right.
that wants to expand, the building to accommodate a third retort. They have two right now. And last year, 2014, they performed 1,135 cremations. Every year they've increased since 2010. They've gone up, I don't know, at least 100 a year. 2010 they did 880, so as of 2014 they're up to 1,135, and they're still climbing. So they're keeping up right now with two retorts, but if the rate continues to increase, they might have a little trouble keeping up. So they want to put in a third retort, especially since if one of the machines has to be down for repairs, then they wouldn't be able to keep up with the one machine with this amount of cremation. So
Okay.
we want to add another retort, basically.
So what's their, the retort costs about 162,000, that was what the.
Well, that's the total cost of the
total cost.
project,
And what-
including the retort and the development of the building, the cost of the renovation of the building. They're basically just extending the building. They're using the existing building, they're adding on to that to be able to accommodate the third retort.
Now, they're projected, you said that they were going up about 100 a year,
Mhm.
and they're projecting that to continue?
Yeah, I would say they do expect to at least, more than they're doing this year. Every year they've increased for the past 5 years,
So what's the revenue impact of that? So like, for the increase in revenue of 100 cremations, what's that?
Well, they're at, I believe they're at $300 cremation. Do you have the numbers?
Talking about 30,000 a year.
So 30,000 a year, so we're looking at maybe like this, 6, 9, 15, like maybe a 6-year payback or something? Is that, if you go up 100 a year? But this is also important because it avoids untoward consequences if one goes down.
Mhm.
So you stand to lose revenue. They're competitors, are they competitors?
Yes.
Locally, yeah.
And the competitor is doing about equal amount of cremations per year. So,
All right, and their competitors doing okay too?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, so there's a market here.
there is. And so they would not want to lose business if one of the retorts was down for repairs, because that is even known to happen where funeral injectors leave.
And I notice they're doing this out of general fund money?
Yes, they are.
It says maintenance.
They said general maintenance, I think, right?
Yeah,
They
Not
call it
permanent.
current maintenance, but it's
Yeah,
their
what is it?
general fund.
Is it general fund?
They call it current maintenance, but it's their general fund. They
Yeah.
have right around $300,000 in
Right.
their checking account.
So fiscally, this is a good move for the cemetery?
I would say so.
They can afford it?
Mhm. That money that is in their general fund that Charlie Sanders informed me was because of the revenue generated from the crematory.
Right.
It's been very good for them to have this crematory because it's generated a lot of revenue. That's why they're able to add on.
Okay. All right, no further discussion. Have a motion?
So moved.
Approved, second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Columbarium, here's the columbarium from Dixie Rural.
Once again, you, Len.
Wow, it's Monday.
It's Poughkeepsie Road would like to install a columbarium, 408 niche garden gazebo columbarium.
The beautiful one.
Yeah, here's some, I printed out some extra pictures here and passed these down to the mic, the board members. And yeah, it's quite an elaborate structure, but I've never seen one like it.
You can have a gazebo too.
So I see that, cost of installation, $500,000, no less than $500,000, with about a 1.6 mil turnover.
Yeah, 427,500, and projected cumulative revenue is 1,063,200. And by the time they get done depositing the 10% into the PM and recovering their construction costs, they stand to gain 529,380 for the general fund.
For how long a period, what's the estimated, billing time?
Well, they place like a 10-year mark on that. And he may even sell, he says he already has a lot of interest in it. He's already got several people that are wanting to buy a niche, so. And it's in a prime location within the cemetery, and, I'm confident that he'll do well with sales. Whether or not he will sell all 408, the niche, within a few years, maybe he will, but I think that eventually he will sell all of them, given the location within the cemetery.
I sort of figured, it's rural, and, but I wanted, because I'd just like to know generally, like, when we talk about what the return is, it would be good if we could just do a projection of the cemetery, better yet, do a projection for when the return is going to be realized, so that we can then compare it with straight fiscal. And this isn't straight fiscal, this is also a service to the public, but from a straight fiscal perspective, we really do want to know or have some idea of what the annual payback is. For instance, we've got 1% return over the course of up to 50 years. Well, geez, from a straight fiscal perspective, we might as well put that in the portfolio and make some money. So it's something that I just sort of like to know.
Right, but the analysis here indicates that overall, not just the gross sales of niches, but also the service fees involved for internments generate on average over $100,000 each year.
Yeah, I think that went to the 1.6 that I mentioned. That's
right. And but as one was saying, general time for selling these things is about 10 years. And some cemeteries actually have the market for it seems to have and they might have a bit of a marketing emphasis can actually sell these things out.
I think this is going to be a very substantial project. I just wanted, like to see sort of like, if we can, put in these reports, right, just that kind of analysis, so that we just have that, because then I don't have to ask the question. Okay. Anything?
Question I have. It says
Uh-oh,
that
it's the lawyer.
The notices were posted. Do we know that they complied with the timing requirements and did they get any comments?
Yeah, well, they put up the notice. They had their meeting on April 21st, where the board, the minutes are included, where the board unanimously voted to approve of this, and here's a copy of the construction notice that they put up, and they're taking comments till June 25th. So far, they haven't received any comments, but that'll be the 60 days that they posted April 25th. They're going to leave it up till June 25th, and as far as of today, they haven't received any feedback on that. Only feedback they've received is people interested in buying niche space.
cemetery regulatory requirement in the notices?
It has to be posted not earlier than 10 days prior to submission.
Okay, so they plotted that.
Yeah, so we're-
Not fewer, not fewer than 15?
no, earlier than 10 days prior. It's 10 days. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking,
Right,
just
right.
have to do it within 10 days
Yeah,
before.
but that wouldn't be very smart. And again, who drafted that? Probably wrong. I probably drafted it. All right, anybody happy with the number of days? Yeah.
Well, would I assume your approval is conditioned on June 20th. They can't actually get going on this until June 25th.
I don't know about that, because they satisfy their regulatory requirement.
Well, they are required to post for 60 days.
Oh, that's right, okay, and we haven't
So
reached the 60 days
It
yet?
expires June 20th.
So what
Then
we
I have
did
a
2 months,
contingent,
right,
yeah.
so what we did 2 months ago is you gave us discretion to consider whether something else should happen if they
Bring
get
it back to the
adverse
board.
comments.
Bring it back to the board. Yes.
Condition.
Okay, second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. I think it's a great project, I mean, I'm just looking at it, it's gorgeous, and I'm sure they'll do well.
So you guys all
We have one more.
have
and
Arrowhead?
we'll let it-
Monet, do you have the contract?
Yes.
So I'll present this Mount Ararat thing, and this is oddly enough also a gazebo, Mount Ararat.
Yeah.
Although it's a much small, wait, this is illegible. No, they came out the wrong way. You can't leave it.
We'll have
The
to wait
print is
until
wrong.
Scary.
You're gonna have to print those the other way.
There's
That's
no-
not, that's not it, that's not it.
cemeteries, but, yeah, we have some
yes.
cemeteries that came.
This one came out okay.
Which is a separate.
Oh, they can share.
Separate not-for-profits, not church
Sorry?
cemetery.
Wait, what's the?
We did a sidebar discussion about regulation of.
Oh, okay, so this, yeah, so this is Mount Ararat. So Mount Ararat had a gazebo next to some graves where the roof was wooden and it rotted and raccoons nested in it. It was bad. So they had to bring it down, and the neighbors, the people, the families whose relatives are buried near that,
No.
we are guidance either, were upset that the gazebo was gone. They have been pushing the cemetery very hard to rebuild the gazebo. The cemetery realized, hey, wait a minute, when we rebuild the gazebo, why don't we add some niche space to it? And they're proposing to add niches along the 4 columns of the gazebo.
Just to be clear, this gazebo was cemetery property.
Yes. Yes, the cemetery, it's just a feature of the
So,
cemetery.
and this, you say neighbors, they're just concerned about the structure.
They want the structure back, because I guess they like, no, they are concerned about its absence.
Yeah,
They want it back so that when they move their relatives' graves, they can sit on one of the benches in the gazebo. Right now, it's just an empty concrete slab, which is not very attractive. So they have contracted with they have a signed letter, it's not, as Tony has pointed out, it's not much of a contract, to have a monument company install a gazebo, this gazebo with the niches in it. The board's approved it. They put up the postings late. They didn't put up the postings until a few weeks ago. So maybe take 3 weeks.
Same deal.
So same deal
If
on
we're
that.
inclined to.
The other thing is, we had a question raising, after I wrote this up, we had some questions raised as to the fact that there wasn't a proper construction contract signed, and that we wanted to verify that they had liability insurance, and you have rather than the month, the monument company, do have their certificate of insurance naming the cemetery as an additional insured for $1 million of commercial general liability coverage. We also have the form contract. This monument dealer does erect private mausoleums as well as monuments, and I have here a list of representative projects for mausoleums they've erected. They've also erected several municipal memorials, because again, normally you would go to either a contractor or more likely a these cemetery construction companies to do one of these projects, but this is a pretty small thing. And, we have from Wellwood Memorial as a statement as to other projects that are more than just a monument that they've done in the past year.
And you're telling us this,
The revenue, I wrote up the revenue in year. I can give you, I don't, pursuant to what you were saying before, I do not have a time frame on the revenue. But when they sell out the entire thing, they're going to be up. They anticipate being up $230,000. And although this is a Jewish cemetery, they do have an existing columbarium that's not sold out, but it sells. They believe it sells well. They believe they've got a market for this. They've had people express interest.
The cost is very modest.
And they have $14 million in the general fund.
Yep. Where is this?
Farmingdale, New York.
Where's that?
Summit County.
46.
There's a series of, 4 or 5 cemeteries along Longwood Avenue in Summit County. So it's the most of them.
It cost a significant amount of money just to build the gazebo.
I don't know that the cost of this, of the niches, adds all that much. They don't have a breakdown on that, but to build a gazebo with a stone roof is going to cost almost the difference.
So when they say the cost of the gazebo and the columbarium was 46.
The whole thing, it's the whole project.
It's the whole project.
Yeah, that's my paraphrasing.
But then you go over in the minutes, and the minutes reflect the cost would be in the area of 17,000. So for a net cost of 30,700, the cemetery could have a structure that potentially would over time create such and such a revenue. So
I think the difference there, Chris, is the 17,000 would be to replace the wooden structure gazebo as it originally existed, as opposed to a stone structure.
but that's the 17. She said they're subtracting 17,000 from the 47, which makes the columbarium is down in the 30s.
No. I think what she's saying here, if I understand this correctly, is she's saying we're paying an extra 30,000 to do it this way. 47 minus 17 is 30,000. We're paying an extra 30,000 to do it this way to generate 300 in revenue. The reason her 300 is wrong is she didn't back out the 10% contribution to the PM fund.
That is good weed money. Boy, that was great. Now, you know, my, one of these persons, if you look down further in the minutes, they're approving her salary and she's a warden, which gets me to the point of, that I raised before. When we're approving these, can we make sure they're in compliance with the new, there's no reflection in the minutes that she left the room. That they're in compliance with the new, not-for-profit law, or other things that they should be in compliance with.
I certainly think we can direct them to be in compliance. I mean, what we have, now we have, I never would have thought that one, so thank you for
What we think, that's my area.
Yeah, right. That's great. That's why the board is comprised the way it's comprised. I think that we have this, and I think the division, we should be going back to the cemetery and to the proper board etiquette.
To be perfectly candid, given who represents the cemetery, they should know that.
Yeah, well,
Well, there's a number of cotees working there, but I see there's only one on the board,
Well, right, but,
and she's getting the salary.
right.
And then there's also officers getting salaries, which aren't reflected in the paper we get, once they're getting. So,
I don't think there are any report from the so I can tell you that, but you're right about that.
so let's go, this is.
Absolutely.
This is I don't view this as conjoined, unless.
No.
You know, but this is something that we need to go back to the secretary and deal with.
no, I'm prepared to approve it, but
Yeah.
it seems that they're a little sloppy.
Why don't we go?
Absolutely.
Why don't we report back to the board on this? With the written executive session, okay?
Do you what?
We'll report back to the board
I'm sorry.
on compliance with the requisites of the
I'm confused, you said that you're not doing this this time, July.
Right. It's a separate matter now. Right.
Okay, that's fine, but,
Okay.
and I'm reporting to you on the executive session in 15 minutes.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I get it now.
Right? I mean,
Not a problem.
okay.
I don't know if I have to report
I'm
back
sure
to the
it'll be
board,
fine,
we
but,
can
you
take
know,
appropriate
they have
action.
to be
on it.
reminded, and they'll do what they need to
Yes.
do, I'm sure. Okay, so, that being put aside for the moment, do we have, any other questions or issues with respect to the common burying application? All right, motion
So moved.
with the contingent,
Yeah,
you know, with the stuff.
right.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Very good.
Okay, well, it's longer than I thought it would be. But we have come
The
to
governor thing was complicated.
Governor. That was, I'm telling you, I hope I remember that stuff because it was very, very good explication.
One of us should write it down.
Thank you, Tony. Anyway, comes to that portion of the meeting where we're in with our listed public agenda. I open this up to folks here. If they have anything they'd like to address to the board, say. Oh, anybody?
I'm sorry, I was remiss, since Mitch is here, I was remiss, later first.
Yeah.
I was remiss in Mitch, Mitch. There are a lot of, just in the division report, I should have included this, there are a lot of Memorial Day related events going on at our cemeteries. I personally participated in one at Woodlawn Cemetery, by youth playing at a memorial there, but just to kind of, there are lots of these things going on. This is a very baby time for cemeteries. And kind of publicly brings home the public purpose that they're serving.
That's true. I'm glad you remembered to say something.
And I should have worn my flag tie today.
Anybody? And who might you be, sir?
I would be David Fleming from the New York State Association of Cemeteries. I have just 3 things.
Just 3.
Lewis wasn't long enough today? Is that it?
Lewis was
Okay.
too short.
All right.
No, actually, one simple thing to begin with. There actually wasn't a vandalism report, so if we could have a vandalism report,
Oh, Chip, wait,
You
and
know,
I
I
think that's
talked,
just, we
I
cut
talked
them
about
off.
it, then we just cut him off.
that would be helpful.
Well, thank you.
We promised one, we actually, since we promised one, we ought to give it.
Wait,
I'm
Do you
sorry,
have
I'd
it?
like to take it.
Of course.
No, do you want to just report the numbers for the record?
Report the numbers for the record, so come to
Sorry.
see
Sorry,
it,
Dave.
and then we're gonna run out of time, and you're not gonna get to say
That'll
it.
be fine.
Go ahead,
For
John.
the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2016, vandalism fees collected were $1,115.30, $115,039. Applications granted were $44,285. Applications pending are $172,533.
Great, thank you.
how are those vandalism fees calculated?
They, do I explain?
$5 per burial and $5 per cremation are
With,
submitted, are submitted to the division, at the end of their calendar year.
Thank you.
Just 2 more things, and I'll be very quick. Second thing, thank you all very much for participating in NISAC's annual meeting. It was very
Pleasure.
helpful, and it's always good for them to have an opportunity to interact with folks, so, and to meet the regulars, so thank you for doing that. And the third thing is a request that was frequently made by the association, and that is if you could all set a meeting date before you adjourn into executive session, so that the public's aware of the meeting. And I guess I'll add one more thing, is if we could, years past, there was an agenda or agenda meeting date that was available on the website, or was at least circulated in advance. If we could do that again, that would be very helpful to the public to know. when
I'm
we-
trying to identify exactly where it's posted, because
I
the
think we
last
do.
2 times we submitted
Yeah.
request to post the meeting date, time, and agenda, and I did get back from our IT or administrative services URL as to where it should be posted, but I still need to do a little more. I still have a question, because I didn't see it actually.
There's actually nothing since 2014 posted on
In that portion of the website. They
Well,
do
then-
get posted somewhere, but we're not sure where it is.
Nowhere in the public.
I know,
I
we
think
can't find
it's-
it. And that is a fair point.
And that is right, so, but I.
But it's posted.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's a fair
We'll fix
point.
that. We'll fix that.
I will.
It would just be helpful because we get the calls as well, people asking, so it would be easier for us just to be able to give them the information as opposed to having them call you
Sure,
guys
of course.
constantly.
I have
It
a
would be nice
sticky
to have a
note.
little link right on the cemetery's homepage.
I have a
Says,
sticky
you know,
note.
We also
meeting
don't have
agenda
all the
next
minutes
week.
up there, which we
The
should.
minutes would be nice to be posted.
I have a sticky note.
Okay.
Thank you.
Need help with that.
So let's set a date?
I so appreciate it.
Oh wait, these guys wanted to say something.
Yes.
Set a date.
Hey, I'm Shelley, I'm with Schenectady Memorial Park in Rotterdam, and I'm just trying to learn how to navigate this whole system. We've never had to apply for a PM loan before, and what I have to do to do that, Chet, or Len had them, they have to send me some information. But, how do I get on the agenda? What information are you gonna need? What, for us to do? What's happened is the roof on the mausoleum leaked.
Oh.
We've chased a leak for a couple of years. Len's had issues. He's had to investigate. He's had complaints. And every time we think we got it, it springs up someplace else. This spring, it was like rainforest. It was just horrendous. And we just didn't have any choice. So I did a mailing. I contacted all the families, let them know we're going to fix this. And we actually have basically fixed it. Now we have to pay for it. But we didn't have a choice. It was just way past an option. We put in carpeting, paint, we've done most of the work ourselves. But I have to obviously pay for the roof. So I have to get on the agenda. I actually went through OGS and I got a good contractor.
For the bid.
For their bids, and,
Yep.
we went through the whole process.
Right.
But now I need to go through this process and kind of need to push it along. I got 60 days to pay. Of course, they'll work with me on that. But I have to get our lawyer to go to the Supreme Court to do, and we're talking, the roof is $40,000.
Right, so here's what I can tell you. I don't know. No, that's facetious, but what I mean by that is that, folks in division, all right, will work with you, to what the board will expect to see from any kind of PO loan application is, and I've mentioned it before, and they'll sit down, okay, so you know, is, the fiscals, why do you need it? Is there another way? What's the payback on the PM loan? How's the cemetery's health? Can it afford to do this? Does it have to do it? All the things that you're mentioning are going to be, you're going to relate to the cemetery, and then what the board gets, the division will schedule it once it has enough information, right, to go forward. And then we will consider it based upon what you have said and the recommendations of the division. You're also going to need some legal work, right, because that has to go to the Supreme Court. So, it would be a proposed set of papers which would incorporate what it is you want to do, what the next schedule is, that kind of thing, and we will review that as well. So I don't know if you've engaged an attorney for this yet, or if you have an attorney who's willing to do it for you.
Therein lies the problem. We have one who's not real familiar with this particular field.
Okay,
So-
I think that person could also reach out to us. Tony's right here. We have prior applications, obviously. The paperwork is not overly demanding, okay? Tony can help provide that, maybe as a template guide, their
That's
attorney.
pretty much
Yeah.
why, if I could just.
Yeah, so I'm glad you came here and reach out. The division will be able to help you.
The one thing.
Now, can I ask one thing?
Sure.
Now, you're the cemetery that has one office for two different cemeteries,
Correct.
correct? Now, it's Schenectady Memorial, and what's the other cemetery?
Evergreen,
Evergreen Memorial. And they're in two different counties also, right?
yes,
All
but we would
needs.
need to apply in the county that the cemetery is in, so that would be
But
Schenectady.
your funds are combined.
No,
No, they're not.
they are separate.
Are your boards combined?
No,
I
they're
didn't
separate
say.
boards also.
The only other thing I'd add is, do talk to your lawyer, please, you will need a draft set of papers, but don't file them until we act. Because when they get filed first, if the board doesn't act in the time frame the lawyer or the
See,
board
that-
anticipates, it gets adjourned and you're gonna have to pay for the lawyer to go to court to get adjourned. It's better for you to file only, give us a draft that's ready to go in your review. We review it, they sign off on it, then you go to court and you'll have our letter recommending approval in hand.
Okay, but is the draft just sent to you directly, or
That'll
does
be
it
part of
have?
the application that's sent to us.
Okay. Okay.
If you, I mean, I don't know.
We could probably find a sample.
No objections, somebody sit down.
No,
Right now,
sure.
right after we,
RJ, you wanna take this, or Alicia? No, we need you. Why don't we see if Alicia's free to meet with them?
Yeah, that way you can.
Okay.
have
Get
some
a
Physician
start on it.
expertise right off the
We
rip.
need you.
Okay?
She's in the office, Kirk, if you go down to the 5th floor, so I'm sure she'll.
Just give her a heads up first.
And we do have a template of what a petition would look like to request a PM loan.
Channel money.
But the big thing is to have, as Dan was sharing,
Well, we have
facts
over one
behind it.
point two in inventory left to sell, so it was.
In the marshland.
Right, so
In the
that would be part of the explanation as to how the funds will be used and how the PM will be paid.
Anything else? That good for now?
That's it.
Date.
Dave, thank you.
Actually, generally, the board meeting meets the third Thursday of every
That
month.
is the general.
That is currently scheduled, for this room here.
Okay.
At 10:30.
On June 18th.
Dan, I'm
June
gonna be
18th.
out of the country from the third until the fourth.
Yeah. Wow. You might have to miss one.
That'd be fine.
Somehow, maybe you could actually willingly not attend, come back.
I would sacrifice.
You're gonna be
I
in
could
Greece, you're gonna be in, wherever it is.
Why don't you schedule it for June?
Uruguay.
Why don't you
Wow.
schedule
Well,
it
just
for
come
June?
back for the meeting. Just come back.
Why don't you schedule it for June 25th, his first day back, which is a Thursday? And that way I don't have to be there, because I'm gonna be on vacation.
I think we need to go. I think it's time. You guys start.
June
moving back.
18th is the right day.
Yeah, we'll do 6/18.
Does that work
That
for you,
means two
Tom?
of us are locked in. We can't.
Thursday.
That's a nice gift.
Okay. All right.
That's great. Okay. All right. So what I'll do now is I will motion to go into executive session for investigative matters. Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Let's take a
We're gonna leave it right at you. Go do your thing.
All right, well, having
Are we
nothing to
on?
report, yes, we are. Having nothing to report, from executive session, I'll motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
say aye. Aye. Very good, thank you.
You all